Adoption. So GBO Talk. Today we are talking about blockchain. No wonder that everyone is talking about it with all the crypto coins rocketing, hitting historic maximums. Just as we speak, Coinbase is making a debut in Nasdaq, and that will be one of the most interesting debuts in the blockchain and coin and crypto coins arena so far. Just a brief recap on year-to-date evaluation of coins. Bitcoin has risen 900% in 1 year, Ethereum 1,400%, Ripple almost 100%, 1,000%. So, well, the hype is on. Tesla has bought more than $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So yeah, everyone is talking about this. But what do you guys know about blockchain? What is the blockchain? What is a miner? What is a smart contract? What is proof of stake, proof of work? What is a crypto coin? Is it a good investment? Can I buy these coins right now? Where do I buy them? What can the blockchain use for? And what will the future of the blockchain and crypto coins be? Well, I don't have an answer for all those questions, but I have 4 experts that will help us understand a bit more about this. So enough about me now. Guys, all yours. And first, Rob, you're on. So start the presentation, please.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so my name is Rob Gaskell. I'm part of GBO in London, and I'm going to be talking today about the increasing, well, certainly we're seeing it anyway in my company, the increasing use of digital assets for treasury management in companies, and the demand that is coming now from the institutional side. And I just heard earlier that someone's going to be talking about the retail side, but obviously I'll explain this in more detail. The digital asset landscape, as has already been spoken about briefly there, we have over 6,000 digital assets, more than 6,000 digital assets across the whole cryptocurrency or digital asset industry. The leaders are certainly Bitcoin and Ethereum. As was alluded to by Miguel, they're both at all-time highs in terms of their price against the dollar and other currencies. And one important threshold is that Bitcoin has gone over the $1 trillion and has a track record of performance of over 200% annualized since its start, which has generated a lot of interest, not alone on the retail side, but also from the institutional side, corporations and companies. The complete market is over $2 trillion. And what we're seeing is that this market has a big bias towards decentralized assets. And what are those? What does that mean? Well, everybody understands a lot of the companies in the space. The companies of the world are centralized units. Banks are central. This is software that has been created that runs on computers based all around the world, and it's called decentralized because it doesn't have a central authority effectively controlling it, and there's a lot of projects that are decentralized. So the public markets and what's going on there, what's going on with the institutions? Well, I've seen this year, specifically in the last few months, the listed entities numbers there, you can see in terms of treasury value, how much they are storing in the treasury of these companies. Corporations and corporates, listed companies and corporates have gone up from 3 billion at the beginning of this year, 4 billion, 5 billion, trickling up to now around 11 billion sitting in there. And you can see some of the companies that were mentioned, one of them being Tesla, one of the largest holder is MicroStrategy, a US-based company. You've also had announcements from Square, and obviously there's a mining company there, Hut 8 Mining, that also holds a lot of Bitcoin on their treasury. And then we also have asset managers, the largest being Gaskell Trust, which is a large US-based and has grown considerably this year to the total value in that sector being $56 billion. You still see that that's a very tiny amount when you compare that to the $1 trillion or more that is the current Bitcoin market capitalization. That it's still a very small segment, but it's growing at a very fast pace. And this is why I say there's an increasing amount of interest from companies. And of course, the Coinbase listing today is tantamount to the interest in the space, in the valuation of that, and the amount of money that it's generating is valuing it at a higher value than many banks, many institutions, traditional financial institutions. So institutional demand, what is it? What are we seeing? Well, the primary focus we're seeing from these institutions is around Bitcoin. And that's because of a concept that is discussed in this industry of store of value. It's seen as a store of value. Typically, we're seeing on treasury holdings a small percentage allocation to Bitcoin. We're not seeing large allocations apart from companies like MicroStrategy, which have taken a large percentage of their treasury and put it across to Bitcoin. But a lot of other companies are looking at smaller amounts. Why are they doing it? Because they're seeing it as a currency devaluation hedge against the currencies that they are operating in. And also there's potentials for alpha, where the performance, as we've seen, if it's annualized at over 200%, you would hope that that will continue. And obviously that generates alpha on your portfolio, your treasury. Another important point is that what we're seeing with companies like MicroStrategy or Tesla is that MicroStrategy have actually announced recently that they're going to start paying their employees and their board in Bitcoin. So they're actually going to start using it as an internal transaction network because they have got more comfortable with the asset class. Tesla has announced that you can buy cars and other services using Bitcoin, and they've created a whole Bitcoin payment infrastructure using the open source nature of Bitcoin, and now they are well entrenched in the Bitcoin community in just a few months since making that announcement, investing $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So they're now quite an interesting party of the whole open source community of developers around Bitcoin, and are helping with that. So evidence of demand, this is really coming from the financial institutions that have done surveys in the space. So it's not just me telling you that and you believing me as someone that is in the digital asset space, but there is actual evidence that Fidelity came out, 60% of institutional investors have considered it in their portfolios. Goldman Sachs, across their client base, 40% already have digital asset exposure. And JP Morgan's analysts saw a really interesting fact of a movement from gold to Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust. So a move from a physical commodity to these digital commodities, digital assets. And banks making announcements of the services. We've had Standard Chartered, BBVA, and Banco Generali, all with different types of service provision, and many other banks claiming or starting projects around digital assets and accepting digital assets on behalf of their customers. I would say, though, there's still a resistance from a lot of major banks that they're not getting into this, but generally we're starting to see more announcements now. My company, Appold, where do we see where have we got evidence? Well, what has been the driving force? One of them is the fear of missing out in this new sector. And many client crews we get are really, tell us about the market, what's going on with the market. If we want to invest in this area, where are the credible trading venues? How do we execute? Are there banks we can use to help us? If we want to store the digital assets, storing Bitcoin, How do we do that? Are there custody providers that you can trust? Do they have full insurance? And I can tell you, most don't. So it's actually quite a difficult question, that, and we give advice to clients on that. The questions around regulation, compliance and tax, and creating internal policies and procedures. We've been approached by a few large institutions around this, and one being a US bank, that it has to set up a policy around these digital assets, because without a policy, they can't process or even do projects in the space. And then finally, around data provision for the risk management, benchmarking, settlement. These are some of the things that we get, on a regular basis in my company. What are the routes to this market? Well, and these are some of the issues, I suppose, but to get access to Bitcoin, you can do it through an exchange, which is typically a tech platform. They are not like the traditional Deutsche Börse or the London Stock Exchange type platforms. These are some of the issues. You can go over the counter, OTC, and there's hundreds of OTC providers around the world that support high net worths or institutions to buy crypto. There are some banking services, and I mentioned those: Fidelity, Standard Chartered with custody solutions, Banca Generali, BBVA with actually trading and custody solutions. Or you can get exposure by going into exchange traded products, where Deutsche Börse, SIX in Switzerland, or TSX, to Toronto Stock Exchange, CME Group have, ICE in New York Stock Exchange have products that you can buy on those traditional exchanges, exchange traded products. So I hope I've given you evidence on that. And basically, what does Appold do in this space? Well, we're independent, so we can give an independent view, privately owned, and we give advice. We help people with market access, and we give them, market intelligence into this space. And we see ourselves as trusted advisors to the digital asset industry. Thank you. And do you have any questions?
Any questions to Rob? Thank you, Rob, for your presentation. Very clear.
I do have a question, and it relates to the fact that Bitcoin became the sixth largest non-currency currency today, bypassing the British pound. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think what's amazing, though, even though you see it as an asset that is growing in value and taking on other types of currencies or assets, I believe that it's still quite nascent, and I do think there's a lot to go. I think it becomes really important and a challenge for the world when it gets to 10 trillion. And right now at 1.2, there is still too much volatility in Bitcoin. And liquidity is good. I mean, you've got plenty of liquid 24-hour liquidity on crypto. I'm sure some of the other people are going to talk about that maybe, but yeah, I don't think that's an issue, liquidity. It's more, yeah, there will be a challenge, and but it's a global right now, a global store of value, and I think it becomes interesting when it effectively takes over from gold, and I personally believe that will happen, rather than being just a direct competitor to the pound or something like that to start with. I think the biggest worry that the pound has, or the euro has, or the dollar has, is actually the digital yuan, and that's different. And my talk is not about central bank digital currencies, but there are some central bank digital currencies that from China specifically that could destabilize some of the currencies that we have, traditional currencies we have in traditional markets.
Do you believe in that? Because plus one from here, that is a store of value, and it's getting over the goal. I believe that too. Regarding the China comment, do you think that could happen? Because I will recommend, I don't have it here, the link right now, but I could recommend the group about one video that it was an interview, 3 people talking about this, about China, because I guess you're saying that because of the mining and they're centralizing everything there, right?
No. I'm talking about the digital yuan, which is the government.
Okay. Never mind then.
In fact,
Okay. All right.
No, the issues around China's supposed control over Bitcoin, it's not real at all. Bitcoin is global, and there is interest in every country in the world, even government interests in Bitcoin. In Venezuela, they pay their army with Bitcoin, and they generate that Bitcoin by mining it. And that's because they have sanctions on the country. And that's the only way that, and in Iran, there are sanctions, and there's a huge amount of mining and Bitcoin going on in Iran. So when you get this, you have an asset class that has different use cases, whether it's MicroStrategy to protect its company against the devaluation of the dollar, or it's Venezuela or Iran because they've got sanctions and they need to, somehow generate some wealth internally to pay for things. There's different use cases for Bitcoin, and that's why it's going to, I believe, become a massive asset at some point and gobble up a lot of other smaller assets.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I mean, does anybody believe that, like, completely contrarian? I mean, does everyone think this is interesting, but maybe just not real, and it's going to go away? I mean, I get that sometimes when I talk to people. So the question back out to the audience then, what are some of the feelings if you're not a supporter or work in the crypto industry, which I do, the digital asset industry? What are some of the things you feel about this space?
One comment or consideration on this. I'm not opposed. I don't think it's an unreal thing. I actually have invested in crypto, probably not as early as I would have liked to. But the consideration here is this: there is a line of thinking that blockchain is like the internet of the 1990s. And Bitcoin or cryptocurrency are the killer application in this internet-based technology, same as, let's say, email was at the beginning of the internet. So more than cryptocurrencies disappearing, the question here is, which are the other later applications or a killer app within the blockchain environment that could even overtake the importance of crypto, same as, let's say, today, some apps or some social networks have overtaken the importance of email in the internet ecosystem.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin still carries on as a store of value and as a use case and as a powerful network that it can't be turned off and can't be sanctioned. So that carries on. But there are some interesting applications of blockchain, which I'm sure you'll hear about in other people's talks. So I don't want to go into that. But one area that I would say that's a very interesting area to look at, and I've been a supporter, also quite negative towards it, area is decentralized finance, DeFi. And decentralized finance, if it's done correctly, unfortunately, it's not being done correctly right now, but there are some good people in the space, but there's also some people not getting their economics and their finance and mathematics right, promises some a cheaper access to finance and more a decentralized access to finance. And you're already seeing projects where you can earn more interest than you can in a regular bank account. Just for an interest product, you can lend money on a different model, a more attractive model than you could with a traditional financial product. So I think decentralized finance is going to have some killer apps, really killer apps that are going to be very interesting to look at in the coming years.
Rob, as far as the Bitcoin concerned, some of the comments we hear quite frequently. Number one is this energy consumption issue that really creating a lot of headaches for everybody. Second is obviously they say 80% of the Bitcoins are not really circulated right now. They are in the cold, the hardwares and so wallets and also the 20% is somewhat lost because of the password issues and so on. So the question is when you think this like next 5 years or so, when people try to come into bring some more, let's say, liquidity to what they have been keeping, which will increase the demand for sure. And second, that like having a competition in the market and energy issue becoming an issue, would that really become a big impact on the valuation of the Bitcoin? Or you don't think that will be an issue? It will be high enough that will not be really considered?
No, I don't. I mean, energy has been, and the problems around the energy of Bitcoin has been, I think, quite sort of misquoted. And, there are a lot of good projects, especially around the mining space, utilizing excess energy, clean energy, investing in clean energy, making it cheaper. So there are some actual advantages to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, and it's not seen as just chucking out, burnt coal mines and things like that into the atmosphere. This is not the reality of Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. So yeah, there needs to be a reality check, because that is definitely a negative rhetoric or negative press around Bitcoin specifically. But Bitcoin has so many other wonderful features that I think people are willing to carry on investing in it. And in terms of liquidity, we're seeing liquidity every day, increasing this year. So I don't see the issues of constrained effectual supply. All that will happen if it becomes constrained is the price will go up even more at a faster rate. And if the price goes up at a faster rate, then people will have to buy Bitcoins for higher prices. And as that goes up, more potentially will be released, because people will make they'll take their gains. This happens in all trading for all types of finite assets, and that's one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin, is that it is finite. There isn't an expandable supply.
Exactly.
And that's what creates the value. That's the beauty of the maths of Bitcoin.
Hey Rob, good to see you, and
hey,
nice,
Mark,
nice presentation. Maybe just one comment and one question. So basically, I don't think that Bitcoin and Co is going away anytime soon, but I wondered a bit about the role of the governments, and if you see any risk of regulation or government intervention. I understand it's probably difficult to regulate given it's decentralized, but any government intervention, any thoughts on this and any risks you see here?
Yeah, I think there will be risks of governments maybe trying to sanction or regulate it in some way. Ban it is one way to sort of try and disrupt, but it's a global network. And I mean, it was talked about it recently in America, and the SEC, quite interestingly, one of the senior people of the SEC, commissioner, was asked about this, and they said, well, literally we'd probably have to turn off the internet then. And how on earth would we turn off the internet? So let's be realistic about this. Let's, instead of talking about sanctioning it, why not just try and embrace it somehow? So that's an interesting comment coming from a regulator in the US, a very powerful regulator. So I think
we'll have a difficult time to.
I keep telling everyone the genie is out of the bottle. You're not. once the genie's out, it's very difficult to put it back in.
Fair point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you everyone for your questions. Just for time reasons, let's move on to Juan Beltrán. And before that, just let me quickly point out that right now Coinbase is pre-trading at plus 40% already. So yeah, the hype is on. Juan, all yours.
Thank you, Miguel Angel. Okay, I'm just gonna jump directly to another type of what could be and what is going on with BTC to NFT. I'm gonna talk about what is the unknown NFT, because people is hearing about NFT, but there is a lot of people that they don't know what it's about. I'm trying to explain what it is. I will love anyone has any questions, please ask me. I love the questions, and I'm going to try to explain what it is. And okay, what's going on with it? Okay, one is the Bitcoin. Let's say everyone understand what is the Bitcoin, which is a coin, of course. Not all the coins, because everyone is talking about cryptocurrency, and not all the cryptocurrency are currencies, because there is a lot of tokens and etc. NFT is, of course, is not a token. It's not a cryptocurrency. It's a non-fungible token. And what I mean with this is that it's not really a token. It's like a thing. Okay, let's gonna talk about non-fungible. And what is fungible is something that you can exchange with another type of value. Okay, in this case, you cannot buy like the Gioconda picture and have another Gioconda picture and exchange it with another one. There is only one Gioconda in the world, and this is pretty much where it's going, the NFT. And sorry, because I put it here NTF. That was my fault. Is a non NFT, okay, non-fungible token. And I'm going to try to explain. Whenever you want to sell something in the internet, digital, like a picture or that you have made, like gaming, I'm going to try to explain a little bit this. You have virtual asset, real world asset, tokenized, digital music, collectible, etc. What the people does with this is try to pack the image and put it to sell it in the digital world. Okay, that's pretty much an NFT. I'm going to buy one by one, so it's going to be better explained, because it's a little bit hard to explain what is it. So an NFT in a gaming world, gaming items like Fortnite. Every one of us that we have kids, we know what is a Fortnite game. Inside the Fortnite game, for example, there are persons and people that are playing inside of it, and they're putting weapons on the person that he's playing with, and some shoes, and the person is flying, etc. That's growing one after the another one, and it's growing and it's growing, and that person can kill better, or inside the game, the value of it is worth it more and more. Okay, Fortnite, like all the games that I'm going to show, is going to put the NFT on top of those sorry, because I cannot remember. I ran a personaje, how it's translated. Like this person, it's gonna try to sell that person that he has made in the Fortnite with all the weapons around, and he's gonna say, okay, it's worth it $400, for example, and I'm gonna sell it to you, and I'm gonna play every day after day, and every day it's gonna worth more and more, and that could convert in an NFT. That's the gaming part. And there is also virtual assets and addresses, or real world assets, like an ownership of something. Like NFT could jump in the real estate. I'm going to put an example later, what is called how you can use the NFT in the real estate, or luxury goods, for example, like the wine. You can sell a virtual wine or a bottle of wine. There is also some virtual worlds that are building around the internet. Like one is called Decentraland. I don't know if you have heard about Decentraland. It's a virtual world that people and gamers are getting inside that virtual world and are buying things. And also the companies are getting inside that world, and they're buying spaces like the Google ads, like for example Adidas or Nike or any company that is trying to make a commercial ads inside that virtual world are buying spaces. Inside those spaces, they also are selling products that can only be used inside that virtual world. Those products are linked with NFTs. Okay. Also, we have digital art and music. So there has been like months ago, like the very first museum of some digital art galleries with only digital NFTs. I mean, there was like pictures, videos in 3D, images, etc., drawings from people that they have the NFT attached to it. And that means that the blockchain, which is the one that validates that NFT, is giving you the proof of what they're selling, that I'm selling you an image to you, and that image is going to be unique. Like whenever you buy Gioconda, there's only one Gioconda. Of course, there could be false Gioconda around the world, and an expert has to take a look at the Gioconda and certify that Gioconda is unique. In the NFT world, with the blockchains, there's going to be thousands of people that are going to validate that asset is unique, and there is an exchange on NFT. So in digital art and music, I'm going to sell you one piece of music or one piece of digital art that you can buy to me. Okay. Another really interesting, and I think that there is a token behind this, which is called CHZ, the Chills, called is a token that is playing with it's building with collective sport cars, shoes, etc. They're playing with the baseball cards that everyone is in the past that they were really value the sport cards. Right now, the sport cards are being digitalized, and these digital cards are NFT. There is only one sport card that is unique in the world, and that it's called signature, which is not a signature, is an NFT, is validate an asset in the blockchain. Okay. So the difference really between what is a Bitcoin and what is an NFT is a Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, and the NFT is an asset that you can sell and is unique in the blockchain. Okay, both are based in the same, pretty much in the. It's not the same blockchains. I mean, Bitcoin has, this is really complex to explain, but Bitcoin has his blockchains, and the NFT are based in another type of blockchains, which is called Ethereum. You have heard, of course, about Ethereum, and the NFTs most of them are based in Ethereum, and both has the same concept of what they're based on a blockchains. What I was talking about NFT, who, when, and the authenticity. The authenticity is going to give you the authenticity of the NFT that you're selling. The blockchain is gonna give it to you. Explaining in simple words, there is thousands of people, thousands of nodes, thousands of computers that authenticate that the asset that I bought from one person, it changed from one person to another. Okay, and that it's made in the blockchain and is validated from the whole blockchains. It's like having lots of people, of course, validating that the exchange of the asset it's valid. Right now, I only put this slide, which is a paradigm shift, because you have to change your You have to change your mind, and it's really disrupted. We are really used to go to the museums and see art painted by people that are really known, like Picasso or Velázquez or whoever, you know, painters that have been really famous around the world, really expensive pictures around the world. And right now, the other day, for example, we have an example of one the NFT that has been sold for $69 million. And we say this is a digital asset. We have to change our mind because this is a paradigm shift. We are jumping to the digital right now. And right now that we have been during the COVID at home, we are seeing the digital like more close to our homes. You have to think about that. There is people that they're going to put like a picture in the wall in your, you know, in your living room, and it's going to be digital. It's not going to be painted by one person that is an artist. It's going to be an art that is going to be developed or designed or done in Photoshop or in 3D, or it's a piece of video, or it's a GIF moving, and you have to change your mind. There is a digital people that are coming behind us, pushing really hard, that they are giving more value to this digital artist than we have been given in the past. We're thinking in pictures, they're thinking in digital, and it's a disrupted paradigm shift that we are having right now. And you have to change your mind because of this. Because we're, you know, I thinking, why would you pay $69 million because for a GIF? You know, really, I wouldn't, but it's happening right now. The slide that right now I'm putting here is an NFT that is working right now, and it's a game called Axie Infinity. I've never played to this game, but I know about it because I've been studying about NFT many months ago. And this game that you see here, it's people from all ages, from really young to really old, that they're playing with assets that they're little monsters. Those little monsters, you buy them, and their cost, you cannot see it here, but the cost of them, the cost of this like you can see here, the cost of the monster is $360. They're paid in Ethereum, which is, you know, the second cryptocurrency in the cryptocurrency world. Okay, and right now inside that game in Ethereum, there are $208 million. Let's say playing, but trading or gaming around. People buying monsters, and as I said at the very beginning, like Fortnite, these monsters are growing. They're putting some like powers on top of them. They're playing with it. The monster is growing every day, and there are people, young people, playing every day, and they are owning like $100 each day playing. Okay, and after playing those games, they have a monster that is being growing at the very end of the month. Let's say right now they're not worth it $300. Right now they're worth it $500, $600, $700, and there is a market inside this game, and they're selling it. They can buy it, they can grow it, they can put more value things on top of the monster. And so, and those are based in NFT. That monster, that's an NFT in gaming. There could be a picture that we'll say in the next slide. And in gaming, you can see here. And it's only one game, one company, and it's 208 millions of total volume going on. Talking about art, I've been taking a look at many, like Christie's already sold one NFT. Sotheby's right now, they have right now going on a collection, and it's called the fungible collection. And the fungible connection is really funny because they have the fungible connection. The digital gallery are only NFT auctions. Okay, they have pictures like this one. They have videos. They have 3D objects, and all of them are non-fungible token images that you could buy in Sotheby's. Okay, there are auctions around. That's another type of art, and we have to call it art because it's, of course, it's disrupted. We have to change our mind, but it's going on. As you can see here in Sotheby's homepage, they have non-fungible tokens. You can say, you know, every asset for sale in the fungible collection is a non-fungible token. That's, you know, the token really is the image, the art that is being sold in Sotheby's is a non-fungible tokens. So this is like Rob said at the very beginning, this is going to stay here. I think this is not going away. This can okay, and I'm going to jump in another type of NFT. Another type of NFT is real estate. And I would say that a new way of raising commercial property finance investors will, for example, be able to click buy on their smartphones, buy a piece of percentage of Planning Office complex or a piece of a house. Let's say we have been seeing in the past companies that they sell little parts of the stocks of many houses around Madrid, for example, and you have to sign lots of contracts, and you can have a little piece of a company that are investing in real estate. You know, like some flats, they put the flat down, they paint it, then they put some furniture on it, and then they sell it again, and the flat rises like 10%. Then divide that 10% in the partners that they already buy a little portion of the company. If you want to digitalize this in a real estate company, you could, and you can have a token of that company, okay, and sell little pieces of tokens of that company. You could do that from your mobile or through internet, and you can have a piece of that company buy a complex of offices or whatever. I recommend you to follow this girl, which is called Daria Fairyweather. She has a really good threads in Twitter, and she talks about this disruptive real estate NFT that is going on. This is going to change because there is this title companies that, as you may know, title companies, what they do is they certify that the person that is going to sell the asset, which is a house, to another person can sell it, okay? And you have to be certified that that house could be sold to another person. This, in my opinion, I think is going to jump in the NFT world and smart contracts, and there is going to be digitalized, and you are going to sell one house to another person or one NFT, which it could be a part of a company, to another person, and sign a smart contract without even know the person that you assign to. Okay, and that's a disruptive that is going on. Of course, there is governments behind. There is, in Spain here we have like a very big building that is called the Bienes Inmuebles, which is a building that you have to go and ask about a person who is selling a house to see that house is free of charge of all the what you asked about, I don't know how it's called in English, sorry. You have to go to these buildings and ask if that house is free of charge of everything. With this, you're gonna have it all in a smart contract, digitalized, and it's gonna transfer from one person to another without other third parties. This is the size of non-fungible token market. The source is nonfungible.com, and it's coming from Wall Street Journal a few days ago. And this is how it's growing from 49 million in 2018 to 338 million in 2020. And I would say this 2021 has been growing a lot more. I don't have the figure for this year, but it's growing a lot. The next slide, I would say, how would you invest in NFT? Right now, you have first, in my opinion, read a lot about it because it's pretty much complex inside the cryptocurrency market, but please read about it. The NFT is, you cannot buy it and sell it like in the stock. It's like art in most cases. You pay for what you think is worth for you, and you sell it for the price a single person is willing to pay. You know, so you have to believe on it. You have to believe in what you're buying, and if you want to transfer a value to that an asset, an NFT, like the one that you sold in 69 million, is because you think that it's worth 69 million, like a piece of art. And you have to think that, you know, like the very first Twitter that the owner of Twitter wrote, that's being sold a lot for a lot of money to, I don't know the figure right now. You have to think that that's gonna worth it in the future, and that you're gonna sell that piece of NFT. So be careful in investing in NFT. You have to be sure what you're doing, and it's really, really volatile value. Most of NFTs are created and recorded on the Ethereum blockchain. So the ones that we are inside the cryptocurrency world, we believe that Ethereum right now is in a moment of changing from 0.1 to 0.2 to 0, pardon, 1.0 to 2.0, and right now is evolving. Right now is stabilized. I don't know what's going to happen with the Ethereum 2.0. From my point of view, it's going to grow. We don't know yet. But in the last year, as Miguel Angel pointed at the very beginning, it growth 1,417. Why I say about the growth of Ethereum? Because whenever you buy an NFT, whenever you are holding it, you are holding it in Ethereum or in the blockchains that you bought that NFT. In most of the cases, as you are buying the NFT in the Ethereum, that means that if you hold it for a year, that asset is going to value what you have paid for it plus the value that the cryptocurrency grow in that year, or it didn't value. Okay, and that's it for my presentation. I'm open for any questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Please, any questions now?
Yeah, I have a question, Juan. Yeah, I was involved with security token projects back in 2018 and 19, and tokenizing property in the UK anyway, that would be under the sort of regulation. So that is, there would be a security token rather than an NFT. Is that different, do you think?
I didn't really understand it. I mean, you were tokenize property?
If you tokenize property, you're tokenizing an asset, and an asset comes under securities laws, so it's a security token.
But Sorry, I'm not really understanding the question. Is the same the security
No, I'm just saying that under the rules within the UK, US, and other countries,
okay,
defined as security tokens, not as an NFT. I'm quite interested to know what you think. Why are you stating that these are when you have an asset behind it, like physical asset, rather than a virtual asset, that is traded, this comes under securities laws?
Well, of course, there is too many things to do, because as the cryptocurrency is global, there are rules that selling assets that are physical assets in different countries could not be done. Okay, so it would be, I don't know, is that gap of space that is in between when it's going to digitalize an asset in a country that is gonna allowed to do that. Okay, like if I have a house here in Spain, it's recorded in that bill that I was talking about that I cannot translate right now, sorry, but my house is recorded under Spanish laws, of course, that if I want to sell that to a person that is in another country, if it's digitalized, I could sell it. So it's a lot of time to be from what we are right now and what it will be. Maybe in the same country, if that country allows to digitalize in the same country to buy and sell the asset, that could be done. Let's say you can create a token inside the country that digitalize and that can sell and buy and sell inside the same country. So in between countries, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it's just it was literally just hadn't heard of them being called NFTs before, the tokens that are digitizing a physical building, and distributing the ownership of that building to many people. I just haven't heard of it in terms of NFT, non-fungible token. I've heard it more in terms of a security token.
It's more like it could be. It's not like it is right now. Mm-hmm. If I said that it is real right now, sorry, I didn't mean that. It's like it could be like the next step of digitalizing the NFT of the digitalizing the property of the NFT.
And one very project I think you spoke about, but it's a project from a company called Dapper Labs. I'm sure you've heard of them because they came out with CryptoKitties, which was the first proper sort of NFT that became popular on Ethereum. They worked with a project with the National Basketball Association called Top Shots, and Top Shots has been one of the most successful NFT projects globally right now. And if you are interested in looking at it, I suggest people look at Top Shots because Top Shots is a interesting application that is being applied with a company called Dapper Labs, who's one of the most successful companies in the NFT non-fungible token space.
Mm-hmm. The one that I was talking about, can you see my screenshot right now?
No.
Oh, you can't. Oh, sorry, because I Are you seeing the website? This
Mm-hmm.
one? The one that I'm saying, like you're saying, the one that you said, and I was talking about CHZ. Mm-hmm. Right now is growing a little bit, but is also with the sports behind, etc. Mm-hmm. And I will also recommend to take a look at this one. Mm-hmm. It's called Chili's. Okay. Anyway, right now it's really disrupted. Everyone is asking about NFT, and it's hard to explain sometimes what it is, and and having the people to understand what it is really.
Juan, one question from my end in terms of the challenges of the NFT adoption globally. As far as I understand, the taxation of certain properties governed, as you rightly pointed out, which each country is different, is somewhat a challenge for NFTs adoption. For instance, in order to sell my house, I have to pay property taxes or sales taxes, and of course, there are some buying related taxes too. And therefore, the governments are taking some legislation stopping any type of tokenization of certain assets, or at least trying to linking it to the taxes, similar to like a physical cell. Do you see that as a challenge?
Yeah, of course it is. Like at the very beginning, I don't know who was asking about, currencies in the world and what's Bitcoin around. This is pretty much the same. Whenever governments are seeing their palace, shake it, they're thinking, hey guys, this is coming and this is coming really hard. So we have to do something. Personally, what I believe is that every smart Ethereum, in this case Ethereum, or whatever smart contract that you develop, between two parts, can hold anything that you want. So why not a government could add taxes to a smart contract that whenever you buy one asset from one person, that smart contract have taxes in between. The money that you pay in between two parties, like a house, it has in that smart contract some taxes that in that very moment, the taxes go directly to the government, and the government gets paid in that exactly moment of the buy of the asset.
Mm-hmm.
What they have to do is, run a little bit with this, because the people around blockchains, let's do not talk about cryptocurrency. What it is a blockchain. So the people that we are around blockchains, we are running faster, way faster than governments, way faster than the federal, FME. So they have to hurry. They have to digitalize their currency. Dollar has to be digitalized. GBP has to be digitalized, and the euro has to be digitalized, and put it inside the blockchains. And please do not do it in 10 years. Just do it right now. Because as you may know, inside the cryptocurrency world, the USDT, the BUSD, the DAI, all stable coins, for the people that are listening, stable coins are coins that are paired with other currencies like dollar or GBP, etc. They're already growing and growing and growing. So governments, in my opinion, okay, please, off the topic, in my opinion, they have to be hurry. They have to hurry up. They have to hurry up with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Oli.
Okay, go ahead.
Only, yeah, just I wanted to share one thought. I do not have the knowledge all you have about blockchains, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, but I would like to share with you that from my point of view, law regulates the NFTs, cryptocurrencies, all this stuff is regulated. You can transfer the property through a smart contract fund. The problem is that you only are able to do that with movable properties, with movable assets, because in Spain, for example, the real estate have to be registered before the property registry in order to acknowledge the property to one person, only to one person. And why is that? Because I understand that governments have to move faster, but governments are going to go as fast as they can in order to control the things. And the problem behind all of this is the control. Blockchains do not pass the baton to the governments, do not pass the baton to institutions, pass the baton by a decentralized system. And if you want to control the taxes, that is the main important point in every transaction, you have to centralize it. You have to control it. Probably they will digitalize their own money, but they will want to control the digitalization and they want to control the stock. And with a blockchain system, I feel it couldn't be controlled. So I don't know if we are going to move to this new system or not. Be aware that if you want to transfer a token, you can do it. The Spanish Supreme Court has declared that the token is a movable asset, and as such, is regulated under the Spanish law. Okay.
Yeah,
I understand.
That might be particular to Spain. That's what I was asking about, the securities law on properties and so on, and other laws and asset and real estate assets laws in Spain. But certainly in the UK and in the US and in other markets, you can have tokens changing hands, which are linked to assets, and it's within the Companies Act as well as property acts as well, and rights and ownership rights. There are mechanisms that you can create that allow for this to happen. In terms of taxation, and you're saying central bodies of taxation and so on, you know, I've spoken to the tax authorities of many countries, and in my country, in the UK, they are planning to have infrastructure that allows them to eventually, as Juan said, has effectively automatic taxation through electronic means. I mean, there are projects being looked at. They are, I agree, way behind, but yes, it is being looked at, it is being understood, and they don't want to squash innovation. Nobody wants to squash innovation here because they don't want to be left behind. And that is happening across all of Europe. And there's a lot of pressure coming from within the center of the EU to keep innovation going at a faster and faster rate. So you're going to see these projects coming out and being announced.
You are absolutely right, Rob. In fact, if maybe Juan and Alvaro knows this, that there is D15 countries, started as D3, then went to D5 and D7, and now it's D15, and UK for sure is part of it. This is like G20 type setting. D stands for digital, and started with Estonia as being on the really one of the leading countries and the visionary countries. Israel is part of it. I believe Ireland, Canada is the last member joined. And the idea is that very thing, which is that how can we really create something common in those countries that can really help on the taxation all the way to management of the identity of the products, individuals, and so on. And therefore, like I agree with you that more and more we will see this is happening. Even our citizenship relationship with the governments will eventually move to the blockchain-based relationship as we are discussing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but I have one concern, and I want to ask you, all of you, one thing. We were dealing with a payment institution working under blockchain. It's like a money transfer, but always working with blockchain. The question is that we have PSD2, directive that is evolving to the new banking marketplace. But if you want to work, at least here in Spain, in most of the European Union countries, obviously not in Estonia, not in those countries in which the regulation is, or Cyprus, in which the regulation is very, very, very similar to the common European Union countries. They are requesting us to fulfill the requirements of a traditional payment institution. So what is the point? We have a directive, the directive of the future market, but the requirements are the requirements of the past. And this is coming from the European Union. This is coming from the government who wants to colonize the future of the blockchain. But the problem is that I feel they want to control it, and they indeed spoken with the Spanish central bank. They don't want to assume risk, and the problem is that the blockchain makes them to assume some risk, and they do not want to assume them. So, what do you think? Do you think that this PSD2 is going to challenge all the present scenario, and we are going to evolve to this new era, or not?
But wouldn't you think that the PSD2 isn't on top of the blockchain? You know, if you want to enter the blockchains, you have to validate yourself with PSD2. With a PSD2, I don't know what, I know what it is, but I don't know how you say it.
PSD2.
PSD2, which is the, you know, second, you know, validation. I would say is in the architectural is on top of it, no on it. You know, if you want to enter, I see it separate.
Yeah, but the company have to be a bank. If you want to use blockchain in the financial market, you have to be a bank. Otherwise, you cannot fulfill the capitalization requirements, or otherwise the insurance requirements. They are requesting an insurance for all the transactions. There are no insurance company granting this kind of insurance.
Okay, this is an open talk, guys. Okay, so this is only my opinion. I've been talking with people inside banks right now. Banks are companies that they have to run to, because as you know, there are neobanks that are really competing with banks right now. And right now there is a third party that appear, which is a decentralized financial system, which is the blockchain.
Right.
From my point of view, banks, if they don't run, they're gonna disappear directly. Alvaro, I think you can maybe think that I'm crazy or whatever, but trillions, and I say trillions of dollars, are working in a decentralized world that they don't need banks. There are this website that you can take a look. There is really clever people that is called Bankless, and the name that says everything. Inside the decentralized financial world, there are insurance, there is borrowing, there is lending, there is, you know, of course, the stop that governments are making is like buying assets like a house or a terrain or an office or whatever. You know, I know that isn't a stop and really are laws around it. But if banks are not running, they're going to be wiped out of the picture.
Yeah, so the answer is the regulation necessarily won't affect that. if banks don't start embracing some of this technology, then yes, they're going to be left behind.
Thank you, guys. Just for time reasons, let's move on, and then in the end, we can maybe pick up this subject again. So thank you, Juan. Nihat, you're up.
Sure. Let me share my screen and share. Can you see my screen now?
Perfectly.
Okay, excellent. I actually didn't want to really go through like a lot of slides just to bore you. We already heard from two very expert executives talking about the blockchain and how it works and so on. What I'd like to do next maybe 10-15 minutes is to share with you the real practices of a real industry, which traditionally is a very old industry, has a lot of tradition, a lot of practices that hasn't even embraced the technology of even e-commerce or so on. But now we are more and more coming to an era that's no longer really applicable to using ERPs, backend system, and so on. Literally everything that particularly consumers' expectations are more demanding the content data relevant to product, relevant to businesses, relevant to supply chain or the value chain. And then they are executing the transaction based on certain criteria. So retail industry today is one of the industry that's been really impacted quite heavily with all these changes. Unfortunately, last year and a half, globally, we all have been impacted with an additional issue of the corona pandemic. And that pushed many of the retail-based transactions to the online. And that also created another layer of complexity and challenge to the retail industry. And therefore, when I look at the blockchain and when I look at the relationship of the retail industry and the consumers and everybody in between, this inclusive of the governments, we talk about the taxations, banks, and many other real key players that makes that transaction, that relationship efficient, active, and workable around the globe, is really pushing the retail industry to also change. When we think about the retail industry, please think about not just like El Corte Inglés in Spain or Tesco in UK or Carrefour in France or many other like Walmart in US. At the same time, everybody else working and facing at the minimum business-to-business side to those players, those big names. For instance, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, or any other manufacturers sells through the channels of retail industry. And I say channel because today there are lots of channels that we don't even consider like a typical brick and mortar retail. Like when we talk about Amazon, it's a very different avenue, and the interaction between the Procter & Gamble, or take it Louis Vuitton as a luxury retail, dealing with Amazon versus the Walmart is not the same. So all these changes, all this expectation, and more importantly, consumers stepping in with a different set of expectation is pushing this entire industry and started to looking into blockchain in a very different eyes. And the reason being is that those three large boxes that I put underneath of the industry and blockchain, one of them is the trust. And that trust means the relationship between everybody within the value chain. The second one is the transparency, and that's a huge demand. There was one recent article that I have read in US, 28% of the Y generation, which is just starting to coming into becoming a dominant buyer with their financials being now more and more growing, are demanding, 28% of the buyers demanding an ethical purchase of whatever they're buying. So they want to look at the supply chain. They want to look at the transparency in that supply chain. They would like to understand how that particular product or ingredients are manufactured, brought together. Either it's a Rolex watch or as simple as a sandwich or their coffee. How is it being really purchased and brought together before they touch and pay for that particular product? Therefore, the transparency becoming an incredible important. And on top of that, product authenticity and how reliable that product that you're purchasing is becoming really key. So if I have to summarize, the retail industry's change with the pressure of the technology, the changing thinking and approach of the today's consumer, and last year and a half, 2 years of the impact of the pandemic, those three topics are becoming extremely critical for the retail industry to survive. I definitely agree with Juan that he was saying that if the banks do not adopt what blockchain is offering and the transparency and all the efficiency it brings, they will disappear, as we know, the real banks, like the banks that we deal today. I completely agree with that. Same applies with the retail industry. I've been in the retail industry for last close to 25 years. In the past, the biggest fear of the retailers are the competition to another, like Tesco versus Sainsbury, Walmart versus probably Kroger or Target, Metro versus Reve or Edeka, Auchan versus Carrefour. But now the biggest challenge for them is the Amazon. Biggest challenge is another channel like Google Store. Another challenge is like Alibaba Store, and being able to compete with that. One of the interesting, for you to think the difference is that the largest retail by revenue in the world as a brick and mortar is Walmart. And Walmart, if you've been in US, you will see that they run stores, they call it super centers. In those super centers, they are huge. Some of them are like 4 times of a normal football field. And then they have certain layers. In those stores, they carry between 330 to 400,000 unique items, SKUs they call it, or JITN numbers. 400, let's say, average products. So when you go into a superstore of Walmart today, you can expose and purchase 400,000 products. When you go to Amazon, that number goes up to 1.2 billion. So 1.2 billion different products you can touch, purchase through the Amazon. So that's the change. Whereas we are talking about companies like Walmart, in the largest store, they can carry maximum 400,000 versus we're talking about 1.2 billion. So in that case, with the changing of that competitive level, also brings people to think about the trust. How can I really trust? Because when I'm in Walmart store, when I can touch the product, if I have a problem with that particular product, I can just go ahead and talk to the shop and then maybe to settle my issues. Or if I'm buying a product, for instance, a Louis Vuitton bag or a Rolex watch, how can I really trust if it's not a real store? Now I'm in the e-commerce world. How can I trust the authenticity of that product? Or if I'm buying from a store that is selling me a, let's say, organic cotton-based t-shirt, how can I really trust that particular t-shirt that I'm paying, that thinking that it's an organic cotton, so I'm really an environmentally respectful person, that's really the organic product, which brings the transparency issues. Overall, blockchain addresses all these use cases and solve all these issues in a very effective way. I have 2 use cases that I will just show you the demos in a couple seconds. But overall, if I look at the retail industry, in order to survive in today's changing environment, if the retailers cannot come up with a platform like blockchain that they can, without any doubt, solve the issue of the product authenticity and then transparency, they will never bring the trust which will help to sell the products. And that's why I very strongly believe, and seeing now the changes, that the blockchain and blockchain-based applications is going to be the really solution of the future retail. Before I move to the real examples, I'd like to give you one real the use case as well. Traceability, but in the traceability recall. Walmart in 2019 December had a huge problem for the mangoes that they were mixing it with their salads. And a lot of people got poisoned in the western part of the US, Seattle and downwards, and they wanted to really do the recall. They didn't know where that mango was distributed and how many of them were poisonous, so that they can recall the products from the shelves to protect the remaining of the consumers that they may have. It took them to trace where that mango is coming from 6 days and 21 hours, let's say 7 days. So for a company, when they see a problem in a product, in order to execute, to recall and inform the consumers who are actively buying, almost 7 days. In today, there are platforms exist to track and eventually recall even the food products in milliseconds. So how do they do that? Blockchain. And one important point here is that also when it comes to the trust, Walmart, Tesco, El Corte Inglés coming and telling the consumer, this product is organic. This product, I paid the fair price. I never used the child labor. This one, I absolutely is organic. I in fact purchased it from a farm that has the certification. Is great, but not enough. So having the blockchain technology bringing us a platform where the third parties can also publish their certificate, and blockchain keeping us honest and suppliers, retailers honest, is the main thing for retail industry will be adopting. So having said that, for this 3 trust, product authenticity, and the must transparency requirements, I'd like to show it to you like some ideas, like how this is being identified today. There are a lot of applications for the blockchain. I'll pick the one for the luxury retail. As you see on the left-hand side, there are a lot of digital assets. And we talk about even art pieces. It could be like a Tuscan wine or Rioja wine, Bordeaux wine, whatever, like the very expensive assets. We always, the day of production, we match that with the digital sibling and record that into the blockchain. Thereafter, for identification of that particular product, either it's an expensive watch or eyeglasses or a t-shirt, whatever it is, matching that particular digital sibling, digital twin, with a physical world, could be as simple as a QR code or a barcode or whatever we want to have, solves the entire issues as I addressed in the previous slide, which is the trust, bringing complete identification, and then of course with the traceability, creating the ecosystem that you have the loyalty. Here, as you see, we can see like here in our app that by simply entering an email and password and already recording all these digital assets into systems, we created digital wallets. And this wallet could have anything, can have the watch, can have the glasses, can have everything. But the key thing here is, as you see here, this history, the history of the product, where it came from, how it came to this level. And that transparency is making creating an incredible trust in the consumer hands. And here is also an example of this. They're deepening the relationship with the customers and being able to having a relationship by scanning the QR code, going to the digital wallet, looking to the product that we purchased, looking at the complete history recorded in the blockchain that keeps everybody 100% responsible. You can also provide a very detailed information of the product content, product attributes that you have. And thereafter, you can also communicate with this the owner of this particular product, and then being able to give them lots of data, lots of additional the information that can create a lots of loyalty. And of course, as a retailer or a brand owner, you will have upselling opportunities. And another use case I would like to share with you, you most likely know the company called Hellofresh. This is a company, for the ones that don't know, you can order every Friday, Sunday or so your next week's food. You select it from a menu, you select it from like a dishes. I want to have tapas, I want to have this. And what happens is on Monday morning, there is a box comes to your door, like the box that you will see here. And there's a little QR code and you scan it and you see all the foods that you have that you order. Say, okay, I want to really select lamb curry tonight. What are the ingredients in this? Oh, here we go. These are the ingredients. And clicking on the one eggplant, you see the entire supply chain from farm to your door. With that visibility, with that clean understanding of that farm all the way to your door, that gives you a complete trust to this brand, to this food. And then if there is anything wrong, you can of course keep them liable, but more importantly, you can also check to see how reliable they are in their corporate social responsibility, how reliable they are in terms of their really engagement with the consumers, and then with their supply chain, how transparent they are to you to create that trust that I just talked about. So I just want to stop here to tell you as a last statement that retail industry for sure is evolving and evolving very rapidly. And then from the consumer minds, they really like to see a change in terms of the transparency of how they deal with their ecosystem, retailer versus their own supplier base, and then how they really behave and bring information to them. So for that, blockchain is the solution from the trust and transparency perspective, and more importantly, from even the efficiency perspective. More and more I see lots of the retailers are moving in that direction, and that's where we also want to help them to come to the play. So that's really pretty much what I wanted to explain it to you. Hopefully it gives you a little sense of what's going on in the market, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I do have one.
Thank you very much, Nihat. It's been a great presentation. And I just want to point out, I'm sure you all know, but Nihat is the CEO and founder of Yaliyomo, the winner of the second prize for our startup award. So
thank you, Miguel.
Go ahead with your questions.
Okay, Nihat, maybe you could, if you can, okay, I'm just gonna ask something technical, if you could, because I guess you were aware of many people. I don't. What is involved, if you may know, the traceability of the products? Does those products has like NFC tags, or do they have a Bluetooth, or do they have a barcode that every provider in between have to scan? And those providers that are scanning the products has also to be linked to the blockchain, so they update the product in between to the platform. Can you explain just a bit? Yes, only a bit. I don't want to this to be long.
Yeah, happy to. In general, once we created the digital sibling, which is the digital twin. Once we record it on the blockchain, then our system creates QR codes. And that QR code contains that record. We are, of course, not limited to QR code, but almost 90% of our customers look for a QR code. And that QR code, I can show you some slides, that can go either as a label, like a little printed label, and let's say needed onto the, if it's a textile product, goes under the label. Or if it's a handbag, it goes inside the bag somewhere. But it can be also NFC code. And in one cases, I will even use the name Hermet, the one of the very famous brands. They do not want to change their handbags or their products design. And they don't want to even put a label on it. So they claim that, they said, you have to find us a solution. And our solution to them is an invisible QR code. So there are printers that prints QR codes invisible way. And then you can read it with a scanner. And now more and more, our app reads that, but of course it's not commonly used in the world yet. And therefore it's the label. It could be like one of the other use cases, the bikes, the high-end bikes that really for prevention of the stolen, since you confirm the ownership through the blockchain of those assets put in your digital wallet. God forbid if it's stolen, you can also mark that it's stolen so that it will prevent selling that asset. So they use metal bands. In Paris, in France, they'll be using those bikes with the metal plate, which has a QR code on it. But in some cases, it's NFC. So NFC tags that we use. So NFC, QR code, it could be linked to the barcode, but 99% of the time, it's between the NFC and QR codes. And 1%, I would say, this invisible codes that they have.
I didn't know about the invisible code. Thank you for the answer, Nihat.
You're my pleasure.
Thank you again, Nihat. And just again, for time reasons, let's move on.
Sure. Thank you.
I want to know how to finance and how to get rich with cryptocurrencies. So let's see if Frank can tell us a bit more about that. Frank, all yours.
All right. So, thank you so much, and hope you can see my screen right now.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So just shift your screen there, and so it's fine. I'm Frank from Berlin, Germany, and I choose two companies where I am involved, but I'm not the owner or founder of them. And to give you two examples how to use blockchain as a source of finance or of income, and I want to give you a first impression of the usage in the context of a crowdfunding platform. So why and what about the crowdfunding platform? Because a lot of people, even in GBO, are founders and inventors, and very often there is the need to get finance or additional finance sources independently from banks. And I want to show you Platinum Hero, where I'm involved as a consulting operative risk manager and project manager. So Platinum Hero is still in the beta stage. Nevertheless, a lot of functions are working right now. Some are still missing, and hopefully we are ready in the next few weeks or months to have the full functionality inside. And Platinum Hero is a very innovative blockchain and donation-based crowdfunding platform. And usual crowdfunding platforms are mainly for charity, for social projects. With Platinum Hero, you're able to finance business projects, social and charity projects, and personal needs. So close everything where money is needed. And usually you as the owner of a company, you has to fulfill a lot of requirements, especially you need to be the inventor, you need to be a very unique and fantastic idea. Next, you need to be the HR manager and to hire excellent staff for your company, be a marketing specialist, really good networker, have a high awareness. You need to be the finance and controller. You need to be a specialist in legal or tax or use specialist in these fields. And you need to deliver excellent services and scale up your company. And furthermore, to fulfill all these things, you need to be a real hero, and you need more rising capital and rising reach to make your company, your idea successful. So to fulfill these two things, rising reach and capital, there is an option to use the combination between crowdfunding and blockchain technology, because crowdfunding on the one side is a bank independent source. You already have the option to get a really high reach, even if you don't have so much, let's say, fans in your world, in your company. You can use the fans of the crowdfunding project or the crowdfunding platform to have more awareness for your products and as a source of income or a source of finance for yourself. And crowdfunding is usually open and usable by everyone. So, and on the other hand, you have the blockchain technology, which enables a really fast, transparent, and innovative process. If you put both together, then it could look like this really easy approach. You just have to sign up at Planet Hero. You need to use an external exchange, or during the next few weeks, we will deliver our own product, own minting opportunity to produce your own needed PLC token, and you just have to download the PLC wallet from app or from the App Store or from the Play Market to buy this PLC and fill up your wallet. And in the next step, you choose a project you want to support, and you can select these projects from different fields, or you can sort them. For example, the most already funded projects or the least projects. So you choose the projects
Frank,
you want to support.
Sorry to interrupt. Maybe, I mean, are you advancing in the slides and everything?
Yes, I do.
Because,
do you still see the first slide?
Yeah, that's right. That's why. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So I want to give you the full screen. Thanks for letting me know this.
Sorry for interrupting you.
No problem. Just let's stop the screen again and give it again the full screen. So now you should have my full screen.
I see your PowerPoint and the second slide selected right now. Cool. Right now.
So you have now the full screen and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So right now again, Platinum Hero, usable business, charity projects, personal needs. Like I told before, you need to fulfill all these functions and furthermore need capital and reach. Okay. And we now have here the combination of crowdfunding and blockchain technology, these both things together. And how does it look on the Platinum Hero website in the beta stage right now? We have the login section, then use an external exchange to buy PLC, and in a few weeks we have our own product to make it very easy. Choose a project you want to support. So now here on the left hand side you see the different categories, or you can sort by, for example, most funded projects. And if you choose this project to support it, then you get a more detailed presentation information about the project owner and the project, and what the funding is used for. And the project owner can offer for your funding rewards. So for example, that's very easy. For 100 PLC, you get a nice thank you card, just an example. So if you choose this reward, then you have just to take your smartphone with the PLC wallet, scan the shown QR code and confirm. And the next step, the smart contract behind this process will be closed. And in this step, your donation, you as a donor, you will freeze your donated PLC for a minimum of 6 months in your smart contract. In case the project is successfully funded, you will earn the chosen reward which the project owner offered to you. You will earn 10% bonus PLC, and you get released your donation in your wallet because the donation remains in your ownership at all times. So we don't transfer the PLC token to somewhere else. But on the other hand, the smart contract is programmed that new tokens, new PLC will be created and born. So the 10% bonus PLC and the amount the project owner needs for his funding are produced from the smart contract. So the project owner in point 8 gets his donation goal in PLC, can go to an exchange and change it in euro or another currency to realize this project. And in the negative way, this the project is failing, then the project owner for sure doesn't get his PLC, but your donation as a donor will be released after the freezing period. So you get return your donation amount and don't lose any money. And that's why for project owner, on the one hand, it is very easy to use. You can use it in diverse opportunities and fields. You have no fees, no repayment, like it's usual in crowdfunding field. Don't to mix it up with crowd investing. You can use it as an additional financial source. You can use the existing PLC community in actually around 120 countries worldwide. So we have around 600,000 users as a community. And so it's an additional source of finance, and it's risk-free for the project owner. And for donor, you have an easy onboarding process, easy KYC process. Choose projects of your own choice. Your donation will remain in your ownership after a minimum of 6 months freezing period. You have the release of your donation, 10% bonus in case of successful funding, and rewards for fundraising success. So that is one opportunity you can discover with Platin Hero. Once again, it's right now actually still in the beta stage, but hopefully in the next few weeks fully implemented everything. So you can start projects and work with this. This is one short example I want to give you about usage of blockchain, and another use more in the BTC Bitcoin field, where we had a new all-time high today again. I want to show you a simple strategy how to use BTC in the mining atmosphere, and to give you a short impression about the price development in the past. So it started some day with 7 US cents in 2009, and actually we have about 63,000 US dollars. And some experts think it could be the beginning of a more impressive development. So you never know where it goes in the future. So we don't know in which price field it will develop. I don't have a crystal ball, but everything of these figures, maybe the 1 million, for example, could be seen in the next 5, 7, 8 years. We don't know. So what we have on the other hand, we have like Rob already told us, you have a high volatility. On the other hand, you have a global interest in Bitcoins, and you can see this global interest if you have a look on the total number of blockchain wallets. So only in 1 month, from 5th March to 5th April, there are 2 million new wallets which were created. And I guess it could be a sign about the accessibility in the world, that a lot of people have an eye on it, but most people are not able to participate. And even if you see these charts, this price chart from the past, then in the first 4 years, 7,200 Bitcoins were produced each day. And for sure, you need to be very alert to access or to accept these up and downs between. And every 4 years, you have the halving. So actually, you have 900 Bitcoins which are produced per day. And only around 2.3 million are left, which will be produced in the next 120 years, approximately. So it becomes more and more difficult to possess only 1 Bitcoin. And if you try to get in possess of 1 Bitcoin right now, it's still easy, but in the future it becomes more and more difficult, and we will see where the price goes. It could be, yeah, maybe interesting, and it could be another source of income if you have the right strategy behind. So what could this strategy be? There's a company, it's called Smarter IT. It's a German company which we founded 3 years ago. And today they have close to, or they have today 756 days experience with this strategy and the real results behind. So let's have a look on the price. For example, when you started to buy a Bitcoin in September the 9th, 2019, and you had 1 year later exactly the same price. So you had 0 return, or in euro -6% in this period. But only these 12 months, you had here really interesting percentage of return. So I guess a lot of people buy and sell, and maybe they buy in the beginning and sell at the wrong point, and say, okay, no, it's nothing for me. I don't care about, I don't want this market participation with these up and downs between. So, okay, it's one point if you try to buy and sell. And I'm not a fan, so as certified financial planner, it's not my job to make speculative investments. But what could be interesting is to see where's another source of income or another source of passive income, which I could use. And the Smarter IT strategy in the same period produced a return of 32%. And how did it work? They put it in small units, which are which you can purchase in the online shop for 2,000 euro. You have a German bank account, and they made these 2,000 euros in 3 different parts. So the the first part is that from these product, 15% goes instantly in Bitcoins. Another 12% goes in Bitcoins, but by using the cost average effect. So each day over 1 year, there will be about Bitcoins about it. And the third part, it's important to understand this. You have, if you like to eat an egg, you have the choice to buy an egg or you can buy a chicken. For example, if the egg costs €1 and the chicken costs €50, then in the first days, you are on the winner side if you have bought only some eggs, because you paid maybe 5 or 10 euros for your egg per day. But after 50 days, your chicken is still alive and will produce each day an egg. So there is a break even after several times. And it could be interesting to buy the chicken, which produces you over mid or long term more of the product. And that's the same with Bitcoin. For sure, you can buy the Bitcoin and make all these up and downs. And maybe if you fall asleep for a long time or are very patient and don't make any mistakes between, then maybe you are on the winner side. But the most people, they are close to a heart attack between these courses. So it could be the same option to buy a miner and let the miner produce, which with a goal that there is a break even at some day where your miner produces you more Bitcoins than you could buy today for the same amount. And to clear out, you can't do this usually, for example, in Germany or in Spain or in France or wherever, because it's too risky to buy these miners, put it in your house and pay much for the electricity power. So you need to make this professional, buy the miners, put them together in mining farms and choose a place on the world where the electricity costs are really, really low. So that's why the smart IT company chooses for the mining farms, Hong Kong, for example, and Sofia in Bulgaria, where the electricity power is below 5 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's the third part, that 73% of the product price goes in this mining industry, and the miners produced for you over 20 years each day Bitcoins. And that's the passive income over 20 years. So even if I have a really high price, let's say $500,000 someday, and I choose to sell my already produced or bought Bitcoins at this day, from the next day on, my processing power will produce me each day more and more and more Bitcoins. And the system is that you have a strategy behind and you don't have a speculative investment. And furthermore, the other option, if you like to do it monthly, up from 55 euros. And at least you get the dashboard and it's very transparent and easy. So you see what you have invested. You see your return in the last 30 days and your full mining days and your minted Bitcoins and the worth in euro. So you have transparency in your dashboard each day and you can decide what you want to do with this. So this short introduction to give you an overview over 2 options of the blockchain use as source of finance and income. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank. I think now we can start the final round of questions and answers and questions for everyone, not only to Frank.
Frank, yeah. Can I ask you a question about the mining business? You said they're based in Bulgaria and in Hong Kong for their mines. Are they looking at any other locations? Because
yes, they do. Yes, they do, and they have other locations in her mind. So the goal is to decentralize the mining farms. So even in Hong Kong, you know about the Chinese influence, which becomes more politic reason, and so it makes sense in different steps of development to decentralize the mining farms, and the returns in total will be divided to the single user.
Yeah, because I know that in the US, where there are some excess energy supply, you can get less than 2 cents
yes,
on power, which is obviously becoming very attractive to Bitcoin mining.
Same in Paraguay or somewhere there. Yeah, yeah.
I have two questions. First is, what do you think about mining pools that are already running in farmings in DeFi world? And the second one is talking about energy, which is, you know, everyone tells you about energy, Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about solar and, you know, this type of energy that you could apply to the mining? Let's say if the law in Spain would be another type of law, I wish, I could build a farm with, let's say, solar panels, as we have as much as solar in Spain, and mining, you know, with Powerballs or whatever. Have that company think about this, and what are your thoughts around this? I don't have any idea about this. That's why I'm asking.
So it's a hopefully easy answer. So far, I know around 50% of the energy which the Bitcoin miners needs worldwide are actually from sustainable sources. Yeah. So if you try to do it by yourself, I think it's a bad idea, because your miner could be defect and broke after 3 months, and then your investment is gone. And your single miner needs, in the average, 6 months to produce Bitcoins. And so it's high risk to do it by yourself. And that's why the other thing, usually you put them together and use the, how's it called? Your first question is the mining pools.
Yeah, which is, you know, all together.
Yeah, that's what Smart IT is doing too. Yeah, that they take the mining farms and bring them together to different mining pools. And this is another thing, actually, that's a lot of people are talking about the decentralization of Bitcoin and blockchain, and that there are, in the reality, only a few huge mining pools. So the decentralization is not that much in the reality. But nevertheless, that's the system, and it works independently, and it works independent from the political influence, which tries to regulate and forbid and everything. And more and more and more, for sure, you need more regulation in the KYC process. You have to make a KYC if you want to open a wallet, if you want to exchange your cryptocurrency in fiat currency. We have the AML 6, which comes in June this year. And for money laundering, and all these things are from the regulators, which try to bring it more in the legal way.
Thank you.
I have a question to everyone, I guess. One of the uses or the applications that blockchain have is smart contracts. And so far, in my experience, I haven't signed a single smart contract, at least that I know. I don't know if it runs on the background and you don't notice. But what is the situation there? Can anyone share some light on that? If we are running into a smart contract era, or if that is just too soon to tell?
I have a smart contract based wallet, and it's used every day. So I'm using it every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I've signed, I don't know, in the last month, like 50 or 60 smart contracts. Okay. Because I do farming in pools in DeFi. So every time you open a pool and every time you're going to drop some money on it for farming, you have to sign a contract. And that contract tells you each part that you are putting your money inside of the pool. That's whenever you sign a smart contract. And there are smart contracts based on Ethereum, and there are smart contracts based on BSC, which is the Binance Smart Chains blockchain. So whenever you are involved in this type of movements, you're all the time signing contracts. And that's, I don't know, I guess you have been reading about what is called a gas fee. And the gas fee that you pay all the time, you know, is behind it, and you have to pay for it.
All right, thank you.
And talking about like Spanish, from my point of view and looking into the future, the notarios, you know, which is a figure in Spain that you have to go and sign a contract for an asset like a house or whatever, a car or whatever, are going to disappear. I mean, those may be faster because those are going to be a smart contract that is going to be digitalized in the system. They're already doing it.
In Switzerland, the telecommunication industry is preparing everything to do on blockchain and smart contract, actually, because that's the easiest way to handle these millions of contracts you have. Yeah.
Okay, so they are here to stay, right? That will be the new normal of contracts anytime soon. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, they're fighting to see which one is going to rule. Right now, Ethereum is ruling the smart contract world, and it's going to the version 2.0 that I was talking about a few minutes ago. I don't know who's going to be the next one.
Any more questions?
Excellent presentations.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the presentations, and thank you to everyone listening. It was an interesting talk. Thank you.
And Miguel, thank you very much to you as well. Excellent idea and excellent execution. I really learned a lot. I thought I know blockchain, but thanks to the presentations, I now know a little better.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye there. Have a good one.
Bye.